Ukraine streets are painting a devastating picture as Russia continues its invasion. Day 4 of Russia's invasion witnessed missile attacks on residential buildings, tanks running over civilian cars and continuous shellings. The attacks have claimed a total of 198 civilian lives. But the crisis is going to deepen as Russian army has been ordered to step up their offensive from all directions after Kiev refused to hold talks in Belarus. After a missile crashed at residential building in Kiev, the Russian government clarified, saying that it was a failure of the missile guidance system. Putin also claimed that advancement of military forces in Ukraine was suspended, but it was resumed today after Ukrainian leadership refused to negotiate. After speculations that Ukraine president has fled Kiev, Zelensky has repeatedly come on camera to prove his continuous presence in the city. The Ukrainian president has called for a decision on its EU membership on an urgent basis.
We are here to protect Ukraine, and the Russian position is about a little bit more than 2 kilometers from here. In the Kiev, the Putin will meet hell, and the Russian people and the Russian soldiers who come here to kill Ukrainians will pay the big price. And definitely, this is our soil. This is our country. This is our people. And Putin has nothing to do here. Get out from Ukraine, Mr. Putin.
As Russia's invasion in Ukraine continues, Kiev witnesses massive traffic jam. India Today's Gaurav Sawant brings you this ground report from one such military checkpost.
En route Kiev, we are at a military checkpoint, it appears, and there is a jam. There are some military vehicles, there are a lot of civilian vehicles, and this is the uncertainty of moving even on a highway right now. We don't know what happens next. We have absolutely no idea what happens next, because in one place we were shot at another place we were stopped, asked for our credentials, our I-card, and fortunately our passport. But fortunately, since we had Elena with us, that helped us negotiate that checkpoint. But it remains to be seen what happens beyond Dnipro, because Elena is going only up to Dnipro. So it is likely to be a long and an arduous journey back to Kiev.
And my colleague Gaurav Sawant right there getting you every ground report, putting his own life at stake and bringing you those ground reports right there. While Ukraine witnesses back-to-back attacks by Russia, the president of the country has led from the front. Dismissing the speculations of him leaving Kiev, Zelensky released videos from the heart of the capital city, assuring he won't lay down weapons and leave the battlefield. Here's a report that highlights his valor and never-say-die attitude.
As the sun slowly goes down on Ukraine, the message is clear. If it has to, Ukraine will go down fighting. And the man of the moment leading the fight from the front is President Zelensky. Aware that Ukraine may not be able to counter the Russian military might, Zelensky has taken up arms himself to defend his country and people, pledging to not leave the country at mercy of Putin's invading forces. While relentless attacks continued, Zelensky released a video assuring citizens that the Ukrainian leadership was all set to defend the nation and not flee.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
In another video from the heart of the capital Kiev, Zelensky said that giving up or laying down weapons will never be an option for Ukraine. India Today has been speaking to several Ukrainian MPs, and one of them, Ina Sobson, translated the video message from Zelensky.
Всім доброго ранку, українці.
like right now, and he's saying that I took the notes. Good morning, everyone. I know that there is lots of misinformation in the media, claiming that I suggest that we give up, that we put down our weapons. That is not true. Do not follow this misinformation. I am here. We're not giving up our weapons. Our weapons is our truth. We shall be protecting our country. We shall be protecting our children, because there is no one else who will protect this. This was the message from the president.
Zelensky's messages have become bolder with time. Not mincing his words over US offer of evacuating Kiev, Zelensky said he needed ammunition and not a ride. While he has picked up weapons himself to defend the country, Zelensky has also been requesting countries to appeal for the attacks to stop, knowing well that he is a marked man for Russian troops.
Наявною у нас інформацією ворог позначив мене як ціль номер 1. Мою родину як ціль номер 2. Вони хочуть знищити Україну політично, знищивши главу держави.
Тарас Андреевич, давайте поговорим о вас.
A former TV actor and comedian, Zelensky's approach towards the invasion is that of never say die, and that of immense valor. Will the comedian turned president, the man entrusted to uphold Ukraine's honor, have the last laugh? Bureau Report, India Today.
We're getting breaking news coming in. Second flight from Bucharest has landed in Delhi. 250 Indians stranded in Ukraine are back home now. Emotions, of course, are running high at the Delhi airport as Indians return. Aviation Minister has received Indians at the airport. On your screens right now, you've got second flight landing in Delhi. This flight is coming from Bucharest. 250 Indians safely back home, with emotions, of course, running high at the airport. The Aviation Minister has welcomed them as well. Listen into the Aviation Minister.
बड़ी राहत और संतोष की बात है कि बड़ी कठिन परिस्थिति से गुजर के आज हमारे बच्चे वापस सुरक्षित आए हैं। प्रधानमंत्री जी की सोच और विचारधारा कि हमारे जितने भी बच्चे यूक्रेन में अटके हुए थे उनको सुरक्षित वापस अपने माता पिता के पास और उनके घर तक पहुंचाने का जो संकल्प उन्होंने लिया है, आज उस संकल्प की शुरुआत ऑपरेशन गंगा के आधार पर शुरुआत हुई है।
India Today was there at the Delhi airport when a flight carrying 250 Indian nationals touched down in the national capital. Here's a report from India Today's Milan Sharma.
A lot of students are now coming back to India after a harrowing experience ever since the aggression has begun in the Ukraine. We are trying to speak to many of them who have landed at the Delhi International Airport this morning, and many of them are relieved that now at least they are back in India. The government will continue to operate flights under Operation Ganga and make sure that each and every Indian citizen right now stuck or stranded in and around Ukraine, as well as other countries like Poland and Romania and Hungary at the border areas, are brought back safely under Operation Ganga. With Ziauddin in New Delhi, Milan Sharma for India Today.
After braving the air raids, blast and missile barrage from Russia, finally a sigh of relief for India. On Saturday, the first batch of Indian students finally returned home. The first of special flights carrying 271 Indian students landed in Mumbai late on Saturday. The evacuated students received a warm welcome from Union Minister Piyush Goyal and their family members. Maharashtra Cabinet Minister Anil Parab and Mumbai Mayor Kishori Pednekar were also present to welcome the students. Most of the students who reached Mumbai were from the western part of Ukraine, which is closer to the Romanian border. Second evacuation flight carrying 250 Indian nationals from Bucharest, Romania, landed in Delhi at 3:15 a.m. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia received the Ukraine returnees at Delhi airport early morning on Sunday. India activated Operation Ganga to ensure its stranded citizens travel by road from Kiev to safety in Romania before being flown home on board a special flight.
can say that the situation is not good there because as we all know, the Kyiv has been about to captured and we are very afraid about that situation. But our Indian government took this initiative and we are happy, very happy for this initiative.
हमारे फॉरेन मिनिस्टर डॉक्टर जयशंकर संपर्क साधे हुए थे सभी देशों के साथ, रशिया, यूक्रेन और आसपास के सभी देश, सबके साथ उनकी बातचीत चल रही थी और पूरे रूट्स बनाए गए, सभी स्थानों पे हमारे एम्बेसी के ऑफिशियल्स पहुंचे, हेल्पलाइन एकदम एक्टिवली काम करी और संतोष की बात है कि सुरक्षित आज हमारे 219 बच्चे, भाई बहन, साधारणतः सभी स्टूडेंट्स हैं, अधिकांश बेटियां हैं, वो सब सुरक्षित आई हैं।
Amidst full-fledged Russian invasion, Ukrainian president sent an SOS to Prime Minister Modi. During a call with Zelensky, Prime Minister Modi conveyed his anguish over the loss of life and property in Ukraine. The Prime Minister reiterated his call for an immediate end to violence and return to dialogue. The Prime Minister expressed India's willingness to contribute in any way towards peace efforts. He also sought facilitation by Ukrainian authorities to safely evacuate Indian citizens. President Zelensky sought political support from India and the United Nations Security Council as they hold the stand against the invading Russian forces of 100,000 strong.
Радять. Тож, не дивно, що саме у таких великих людей друзі потужніші, ніж вороги. Протягом дня, щогодини я говорив з лідерами держав, друзів України. Індія – традиційна світова сила. Обговорив з прем'єр-міністром Моді перебіг нашої відсічі агресора. Отримав повну підтримку.
Russia is facing sanctions from across the world for its invasion of Ukraine. From United States to European Union, countries across the world are now imposing strict sanctions aimed at crippling the Russian economy, in turn discourage Putin war advances. Australia, New Zealand, Japan and Taiwan have followed suit. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson also put out sanctions on Russian institutions and oligarchs and will introduce a law coming week to ban the export of technology to Russia. Meanwhile, Russia said it has closed its airspace to flights from Bulgaria, Poland and the Czech Republic, a tit-for-tat punitive measure after European nations banned Russian flights to use their airspace. Russia has also warned neighboring Finland and Sweden about any possibility of joining the NATO. Russia said it would lead to serious military political consequences. The two countries have brushed off Russia's warnings. The world has now come together to help Ukraine in the fight against Russia. US, Australia and several other nations have offered to help Ukraine. US will provide $350 million, while Australia has announced to send equipment and medical supplies to Ukraine. Here's a look.
3 days into the war, the battle has spilled onto the streets. The big trophy is Kyiv, and Ukrainian forces have so far been holding up against the might of Russia. But for how long can Ukrainian forces thwart a power thrice its size? The world is now coming together to assist Ukraine in its war. On Saturday, Biden approved an immediate military aid of $350 million. Many NATO allies announced weapons, including air defenses. The Dutch said they were sending 700 missiles to Ukraine, and France was readying to supply weapons. Germany is dispatching a Patriot missile defense battery to the eastern flank. The support for Ukraine has come in other forms. At least 6 European nations and UK closed their airspace to Russians. And every passing day, Russia is being hit by a raft of sanctions to squeeze Putin economically. The rushing of weapons to Ukraine is enough indication that a diplomatic solution is no longer an option. In which case, is the move by the West to equip Ukraine too little or too late? Bureau Report, India Today.
The Russia-Ukraine conflict found its way into the English Premier League during weekend. During two prominent games on Saturday, fans and players both expressed anguish over the current situation. In the Manchester United versus Watford games, players from both sides posed with banners calling for peace in the wake of Russia invading their bordering southern neighbours. Even members of the crowd were seen holding Ukrainian flag, sending a powerful message of support to Ukraine in their conflict with Russia. In the other game that featured Everton and Manchester City, players of both clubs joined forces and were spotted draped in Ukrainian flag before the kickoff. Interestingly, both the teams have Ukrainian players in their squad. Well, that's it from me, Chaiti Narula, on this particular bulletin. Our relentless coverage continues even on the other side. For further news and updates, don't forget to log on to indiatoday.in or download the app. See you in just about a bit.